Hey, folks, this is Lonzo, the Godfather of West Coast Hip Hop, and the CEO and president of the Compton Entertainment Chamber of Commerce, folks. And today we're about to do another interview with Celestina Bishop, the owner of Woodlawn Cemetery in Compton. Now, we did the interview, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. Monday. We did the interview Monday. For some reason, the audio dropped out. I've done over 200 shows, never had a problem like that. Had some other problems, but not one like that. And her story is too interesting and too tragic. It's a tragic story of tragedy, triumph, all the above, and she still has the fight on her hands. So I wanted to share that story with the folks of Compton and whoever else watches this podcast, this channel. If you want to see it later on, download the app, the Compton Entertainment Chamber of Commerce app, folks, available on iPhone and on Android. I just had her online a second ago. She had to step off for a minute because her link was a little bit staticky, and we're trying to get a good, clean signal. So bear with me for a minute, folks, and she'll be right back to join us. But in the meantime, the Compton Entertainment Chamber of Commerce is something that I created to primarily, my primary goal for this is to build a Compton Walk of Fame. I'm a part of the 125 Historical Society here in Compton, and I've been to several of their events, and I've seen so many prominent people from Compton that have never been recognized for their achievements. And I think that's totally an injustice to them and the city of people of Compton. So one of the things we'll be doing is I'm fighting to build a Compton Walk of Fame and also bring notoriety to all the businesses in Compton, so we can start making some changes in the community, folks. And that's just my baby. But right now, I think we got a better link because I see she's moving over here. She's coming online right now. Celestina. There you go, darling. How you doing today?
I'm blessed. Yourself?
You don't sound that good, though. You kind of a little chappy still.
Okay. Is this better?
Go, yeah. Keep talking.
Okay. So I have my phone in the cradle, so cut my volume up. Is that a little bit better?
That's a lot better.
Okay.
That's a lot better. Okay. You're still a little choppy, but we're going to work with that right there because we got to get this story out. Celestina is the owner of the Compton Cemetery, Woodlawn Cemetery in the city of Compton. And her story it starts off tragic. It's still tragic, but it has so many twists and turns to it. I just found it so amazing. I met her a couple of weeks ago at a car show. She was introduced to me, and while I'm partially DJing, I'm listening to her story. I said, you got to come on the show and share this story with the folks of Compton. Here's the bad part. It's an old story, but it always has a new twist. So, Celestina, I'm going to let you do the talking from this point on. Go ahead, darling.
Hello, everyone. My name is Celestina Bishop. I am now the owner and operator of Woodlawn Memorial, formerly known Woodlawn Memorial Park. I changed the name upon ownership. It is Woodlawn Celestial Gardens. I've been servicing the city of Compton for 2 years now. Okay. With the cemetery.
It looks a lot better, first of all. I got to say, I go down Greenleaf almost every other day going to the gym. And once upon a time, I was like, what in the hell happened over there? And all of a sudden, it started looking like somebody cared about it. It must be you.
Yes, I love Woodlawn. My journey at Woodlawn started, my cleanup journey. So let me clarify that. My cleanup journey at Woodlawn started in May of 2020. On Mother's Day, I had to hop the gate like many other families probably had to do in the past. Just to place flowers at the gravesite of my beloved. And upon, hopping the gate and the struggle was not knowing where they are because I've been here so many times in my life, was finding the grave because they were covered with weeds, and some headstones had dead animals, and then some had homeless people living on top of it. So it was more devastating for the appearance versus the visit, because I was accustomed to hopping the gate sometimes. And that's a shame that you are accustomed to having to hop the gate to visit your family in the cemetery.
Now, back stop for 1 second, please. Tell the folks why Woodlawn? Why you have to hop the gate? Why Woodlawn is so important to you?
Okay, so we're gonna go with why Woodlawn is important to me. Before my journey and after my journey. Um, 19 in January 1977, my mother and my three sisters, which was 12, 10, and 7 years of age. I was the baby. I was going on three. All four of them were murdered. They were bludgeoned in my home in South Los Angeles, and they found me 2 days later in the house with, of course, four dead people.
Wow.
My mother was interned at Woodlawn, my mother and my sisters, January 28, 1977. And from that day forward, the Woodlawn has always been in my life, my mama's house.
Mm.
Um, in 98, shortly before the closure of the cemetery, I buried my grandmother here. And when my grandmother passed away, it was never a question of what cemetery she was going to, because Woodlawn was our home cemetery. We have other family members here as well. And my goal was to be buried in this cemetery along with my children or any other members of my family, because this was our cemetery. I mean, it sounds strange, but it was ours. Shortly after the death of my mother, my grandmother, she didn't accept the death, and she used to cuss out the caretaker at that time and force him to open the gate, and we used to spend nights here, and it wasn't strange to me as a child
How?
spending the night in the cemetery.
What you do? Camp out with a tent, sleeping bag? What you? How'd you do that?
We had cots. So you remember the old school cots that you fold up and then you fold them out.
Yeah.
We had two cots and two blankets and two pillows, and my grandmother had her case of Slits beer
Okay.
in her brown paper bag, and we did that. I remember doing that from maybe three to like 9 years old.
Okay.
And in the morning time, he'll lock us in the cemetery, and we that was our area. And around 6:30 in the morning, he'd come open the gates, and my grandmother and I would go home. I'd take a bath and get dressed for school. And sometimes when my friends ask me like, "What did you do yesterday?" I was like, "I was at my mama's house." And
Mm.
some of them kind of knew by me sharing as a kid, and then some of them just figured I had a mother somewhere else.
Wow. That's deep. That's deep. It never bothered you sleeping in the cemetery?
No.
Some people will be terrified. That would be like a horror movie for them to sleep in the cemetery all night. I mean, I guess you got so used to it, it was no big deal to you, huh?
You know what? I believe that because I started sleeping at the cemetery at an early age, it became second nature. I didn't have a reason to be scared because it wasn't a scary event that was happening at the cemetery. It wasn't ghouls and goblins and things of that nature coming and scaring me. I was at peace. I was with my family.
Wow, that's deep, babe. Go ahead, continue your story, please.
So, again, we stayed here up until, I remember spending the night here up until the age of 9. Um, Even in my teenage years, I'm gonna share with you guys. I had a child when I was really young, and when we left the hospital, I caught a cab, and the first place I came was to Woodline because I had to show my mama my baby.
Wow.
I had to, and so when I used to, feel a certain type of way about things that was happening in my life, or people, adults that was in my life, and this was always my safe place, and I can leave it there, and I didn't have to worry about it. Other grown-ups talking about what I'm telling my mama, and I always had a connection with the cemetery. It was just, again, my safe place. So um, my journey in 2020, I had went through a bad divorce,
Mm.
and my husband, he kidnapped my children, um, and I was lost. And in 2019, 2018, I came, and I was just a pure mess. I was hurt. I was feeling a lot of hurt. And 19, I learned how to redirect my crying because I cried for a whole year. In 2020, I was coming over just to tell my mom, like, look, I'm better. I'm better, you know, and I learned how to live without my children because I never had a big family. My family was taken away at an early age. So I built my own.
Okay.
And for someone to, you know, to take away my family, I came back to my safe place, and Woodlawn needed my assistance, but I needed Woodlawn more than it needed me.
I can see that. I can see that. Continue this story. This story is just amazing, babe.
Yeah, so when I came over on Mother's Day 2020 and I started cleaning up, and I reached out to a lot of people that had the tag Compton on them and like, hey, what's up with the cemetery? Um, this is what I'm doing. I'm over here cleaning up. And we, you know, I noticed that a lot of people were saying that they were the ones cleaning up. I had video. I was here every day
Mm.
from May 2020 to October 1st, 2021. I was at the cemetery every day.
How big is that cemetery?
It is 11.24 acres.
That's a lot. What you doing? A weed eater? A lawnmower? What you using out there?
I use all of the above. We have, when I initially started, it was after Mother's Day. I went home and I was telling my husband, because the year prior I was telling him about this tree. I said that tree gonna cover up the cemetery. Nobody's there. And when I went on the following year, and I'm like, babe, that tree is covering up my mama's grave. And he was like, what you gonna, you know, kind of like, what you gonna do about it? And I said, I'm gonna clean up the cemetery. And he said, man, I said, I'm going up there tomorrow and I'm finna clean up the cemetery. So I didn't think nothing of it. The next day, he said, well, babe, take the van. So I popped, you know how you got the lever to pop up the van. I'm not worried about the van going up, the hatch in the back. I'm opening the garage at the same time. So I'm like, oh, I'm finna get his weed eater and stuff. And I grabbed the gas can and I was walking back and I'm looking like, what is in this van? And he went to Home Depot and bought me a brand new weed eater, some whackers, a blower. Um, and I sat there for about 10 minutes and I was crying. I was like, he believed in me. Like, okay. And now I can't let him down because he already bought this stuff. So here I am, fill up the gas can, coming to Woodline, park in the alley. It's an alley right here. And I asked the people, I said, can I park right here? And they said, yeah. And I threw the weed eater and the stuff over the gate. And then I hopped over the gate and I started cleaning up the gate. And I did that for about 3 days straight. And I was doing videos. And on the fourth day, I was in Garden of Peace. That's at the beginning. And I seen a car drive away. And I was like, that ain't my husband, because he would have let me know he was here. And he said, babe, he said, who's over there at the front gate? And I was like, nobody. He said, well, go open it up. He popped the locks and we put our own locks on the gate because I locked it up every day that I was here. At that time, I had notified the owner that I was over here and he gave me verbal permission to be
Okay.
over here.
Okay.
So it wasn't breaking and entering. And throughout my whole cleanup effort over at Woodlawn and sections that we went in, I sent pictures to the owner so he knows that I was over here on good intentions.
Okay.
And he told me that he wanted to give it to a nonprofit. I had several other businesses, but I never knew anything about a nonprofit. And I told him, give me a couple of months. What he failed to disclose is that Woodlawn had a huge tax debt.
Mm.
I was able to
How much you talking about?
$890,000.
$890,000, just shy of a million, about 100 grand shy of $1 million, 110 shy of a
Yes,
$1 million. Wow.
yes. Woodlawn had been on foreclosure since 2017,
Okay.
and I fought the previous owner to an extent. One, he did not do his paperwork. Due diligence was not done. So yes, you have fault for that. There was paperwork that needed to be filed. That all cemeteries are exempt.
Okay.
It all depends on the percentage of the exemption, but you get an exemption because it's for the public. This is on private land, but it's a public cemetery.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but he was more. I see where he he had problems as far as the maintenance and the upkeep. That's a lot. Like even now, it's a non-operating cemetery, but my upkeep a month is about $6,000,
Wow.
and
So
that's bills.
okay. And
Um, and that's not excluding the water. That's a whole nother subject. Um, so once he gave me permission, him and his attorney gave me a legal permission to act as his agent. I was able to find a resolution with the tax collector's office, and they gave me 30 days to come up with almost 20 grand. I paid them in a week.
mm, bad
Once,
sister.
go ahead, sir.
Your bad sister.
Yeah, it was it. I did reach out through the public, on a GoFundMe. But I had two family members that actually just came and brought me the money. They like, you
Mm,
know what, you've been over here, you love this cemetery, and this is not an investment. I eventually, like a month later, I paid them in full back because I appreciated the gesture.
okay.
Even though they wasn't looking for it in return, I gave it back to them.
Okay.
Um, we did raise some money. I used it for more tools. I paid the taxes October 19th, 2021. And then I had my tax bill for December and the upcoming tax bill in April.
Okay.
So some of those funds that was used to I set aside and paid the upcoming taxes. So currently we are free. We are current. We are not late, behind, nothing, none of that. We
None of that.
good.
None of that.
Yeah, we're good. I did get a lot of support from families during the pandemic, and this is why I say COVID-19 was bittersweet to me because yes, we lost loved ones and we lost friends and we lost strangers that was important to our daily activities of living.
Okay.
Important people and people that wasn't important. But people wanted to go outside, and Woodlawn is 11.2 acres. People can go and they can clean up, and you don't have to be around other people. You can be by yourself or among your household, and you can be a part of the cleanup effort. And that was a big mission.
I can
And
imagine.
yes, it was, but it was beautiful just seeing all the people and people wanting to do good because that was so disrespectful. I personally don't see how the city of Compton. I understand that they have a municipality where it can't, 5 acres and below. But what happened to your morals? The founders, the settlers, the first settlers of the city, is buried in this cemetery.
Yeah, please tell me more about that because on the last interview that we kind of lost a little bit, you told me a lot of people that are very important to the city of Compton are buried in that cemetery, and just give us a few of those names that you dropped on me the first time.
Yes, we have the Palmer family, we have the Bullis family, Haskins, Caldwell, Stockwell. One of the Stockwells was one of the first six people to be interned here. We
Hmm.
have Mr. Walton. A lot of people went to Walton Elementary. He's buried here. He also was the 97th person to be licensed as a doctor in the state of California up in Stockton, and he came down with Compton
Hmm.
and Compton's crew and became part of the first settlers in the Comptonville. That's what it used to be called, and
Okay.
then it later changed to Compton. Um, we have so many. The dairy farm, Mr. Not Mr. Haskins. I have to think of his name. The list goes on as far as the Compton settlers. I have Mr. Francis Townsend. He initiated the Social Security Act, and a lot of people were like, "Well, how did he initiate the Social Security Act?" So let me tell you that story. Mr. Townsend was from Long Beach, and back then everything was like Long Beach, Compton. It was the hub.
Right. Right.
Um, and he was telling his community, his neighbors, and his friends, and about this plan. If you deposit a certain amount of pay each week, when you get a certain age, you'll be able to get another percentage to help you when you can't go work or you get sick and ill. He had over 3,000 people names on envelopes where they were depositing money.
Mhm.
So at that time, Roosevelt was the president. And he pardoned, they were going to put Mr. Townsend in jail. He pardoned Mr. Townsend and stole his idea and made it the Social Security Act. So without this
Wow.
man plan, we wouldn't have retirement, widow's pension, SSI, SSD, retirement. It's the limits of his idea. So he's buried here. We have Mr. Carvey Porter. He was assemblyman for this area, but he started off running in the city. You know, he was a council person in the city. He also was friends with Mr. Compton.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't know that in the late 1800s, there was a plague that a lot of the minor children passed from. It was called typhoid fever. And it had a lot to do with the contamination of the water that was in Compton. And he initiated the Water Pollution Act,
Mm.
which now we don't have to worry about typhoid fever unless we're in a third world country or something that does not have the tools or the knowledge to, you know, purify the water or what is allowed in fresh water and things of that nature. He's buried here. He also was part of the board for Sunset Cemetery, which used to own Woodlawn.
Okay. Now you told me something the other day that blew me away. I asked you about Lincoln Memorial Park across the street. You told me that was not in Compton.
No, that is Carson, believe it or not.
I never knew that.
Yes. So that on the right side, if you're going south of Central, that starts the border for Carson, and the Compton border ends right after the 91
Wow. Wait. So if you're going south on Central
towards the 91.
towards the 91, all the way to Central is Compton,
No,
Artesia's.
no. So if you're going up Central Avenue and
Uh-huh.
you're going from Greenleaf in Central and you're going towards the 91,
Okay.
on the left hand side, that's Compton. And
Okay.
on the right hand side is Carson,
Wow.
starting from the cemetery. So the cemetery, Lincoln across the street is
Okay.
Carson.
Okay. I didn't know that. So everything on the west side of Central is Carson up to Avalon. I'm thinking. Because I go to church. I go to church right there off of Walnut in Central, and that's Carson.
Yes, you're absolutely
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But I had a job on Walnut on the other side of Central, and that was Compton. Okay.
Yes.
Now I got you. Ask me a question. You told me something yesterday that blew me away also. Back in the day, what did it cost to bury a body at Woodlawn Cemetery?
Ooh, I have some burials here that was $2. I, I have some burial. Well, we have to keep in mind that Woodlawn is 152 years of age, but Woodlawn was a economical cemetery for people with limited income.
Okay.
I have people that was buried here for $13. Me personally, when I buried my grandmother here in 1998, I paid $615, and at that time, Woodlawn was an endowment care cemetery,
Okay.
and $30 of that $615 went towards the endowment. How long is $30 going to supply the maintenance and care
Right.
for the cemetery? And that was in 98. The most anyone has ever paid for a burial at Woodlawn is roughly $1,500.
Okay.
And at that time, the minimum for the endowment was probably about $100. So people think that Woodlawn is an endowment care cemetery. No, it was. The state of California has your money.
Mm.
Point blank, period. I do want to discuss this, and just for clarification, we had assembly person, Mr. Mike Gibson, and the city of Compton, which was strangely that they can't support my efforts over here, but they supported a bill called AB 651, Justice for Woodlawn. That bill didn't apply to Woodlawn. Woodlawn, again, is a non endowment care cemetery. It applies to cemeteries like Inglewood, and like, they're charging you 20 grand, just roughly, I'm just guessing, 20 grand to get buried at Inglewood, but 5,000 of that 20 might go to the endowment.
Okay.
So if Woodlawn was at that time considered a defunct cemetery, and still, because I'm not up under the state,
Okay.
the endowment saving Woodlawn, that you just used Woodlawn name because I was over here working at Woodlawn and people were bringing awareness to it, but it didn't help it at all. And it'll never help Woodlawn.
What happened to the money?
Interesting. I asked that at a council meeting October 19th at City Hall, Compton City Hall. But me on that meeting was erased, but I got it on my Facebook page. So if you ever go to my Facebook page, it's up in there. I asked the same question. You guys were procuring funds, and you're working with the state on how you guys are going to make Woodlawn and bring dignity and respect. And nobody has helped yet but me.
Interesting.
And volunteers and families, but that's here and there too.
Interesting. Okay.
So
You
that's one of the things. I do want to go back to the notables that's at Woodlawn. I think it's important that everyone know that Mr. Alprentice Bunchy Carter is buried here. He is one of the founders of the Southern California Los Angeles chapter Black Panther Party.
I remember, if I ain't mistaken, I remember seeing something like that in the documentary when they buried him. They mentioned something like that in the documentary, if I'm not mistaken. But what you just told me, because I never understood I knew how streets got their names anyway in life, but everybody you name, there's a street or boulevard named after them. Okay.
Yeah, the Murr is here. Every street that's in Compton, they're buried here. The person whose name is buried here.
So wait a minute. So the people when Mr. Compton founded Compton, everybody that played a part in helping him find Compton, in the foundation of Compton, he named a street after them in their memory. And see, you and I have kind of a mutual thing. My thing is bringing notice to the people that are still alive through a walk of fame. And you're trying to preserve the memory of those who have passed in the cemetery, which is, similar but different. And it's just amazing that the people who founded the city made sure that the names of the people that co-founded the city were throughout the city for eternity. Meanwhile, folks who've come from the city who have done great things and nobody seemed to know about it. And that's something I want to bring to the attention of people of Compton. But that's why I got you on this show. It's a two-sided coin.
Yes. But we also have the founder of Carson here. We have some of the Dominguez family, the Bixby family buried here. So a lot of people
knows.
Excuse me?
Bixby, as in Bixby knows?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
That cemetery is the grave home of multiple dignitaries.
Yes.
And that's why it's important.
It's important. We have Negro League baseball players here. We have Major League baseball players here from the Padres.
Okay.
We have actors. I watched Our Gang, which was Little Rascals growing up, and Buckwheat's sister. Yeah, her real name is Carly Coleman. She's buried here. She played in a lot of movies with Mama Mabley, the slave. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. She was an actress in the early, I think she started in like 1920 something up until she passed away. So she was a child actress. We have, everybody knows the Globetrotters, right?
Right.
So the song that they whistle is composed by Freeman Davis, which people called him as Brothers Jones. He used to play the spoons.
Okay.
He's buried in Woodlawn. We have Mr. David Arkin. He played in Hawaii Five-0 and MASH. He's buried here. He actually lived in Compton and committed suicide.
Huh?
Hmm.
David Arkin, is that the white guy?
Yes,
He wasn't the one that played the butler, was he? Which one
I
was he?
believe so.
Wow, I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Did you
Okay.
know he was a Compton resident? He
No,
committed
I
suicide.
didn't know that till just now. As
Yeah.
they say on Facebook, how old when you found that out? I was 65 years old today. Okay.
You know what? Woodlawn has a lot of history here. A lot of people think that Compton only had the two kids. He had a daughter, Mary Elizabeth. She was buried in their backyard and disinterred and reburied in Woodlawn when Woodlawn was established for the settlers in
Okay.
the early 18, I want to say about 1890.
Wow.
But she died from typhoid fever also. His son John is buried here, and a lot of people didn't know that Compton had a child with one of his cousins. And
Ah,
yeah. And she married into, her name is Jeanette Compton Flood. She married into the Flood family.
okay. Now, what are your plans with Woodline moving forward?
Whew. Well, first of all, Woodline, we have to find some type of stability as far as financial stream, because I'm not rich, and I sometimes feel that it's not fair that, um, yes, I did step up to the plate because nobody was here to do it, but I'm not the only person that has family here. Yes, I love everyone here, but I get a lot of family members that come up here and they complain, why does it look like this? And I'm like, we working on my income,
Hmm.
on my work. I don't get paid. Nobody comes up here and say, Celestina, here's a gift card for some gas.
Right, right.
uh, People that do work here, I have to pay them out of my own bank account.
Okay.
So the water, that's a whole nother issue. I just had, can I talk about that?
Go ahead.
Okay. I had a meeting on Monday, with the city manager, and all I got from the meeting with the city manager was a hello. I talked with the assistant city manager, and we talked about three important things. One is my truck traffic. Woodlawn um, has always been residential, and it was also an annexation done in 1963, I
Mhm.
believe, 63 or 67. Um, where it was residential, and why you have an ordinance that these diesels are not allowed to drive in residential areas. And I've been complaining about that for about a year and a half, because my monuments like Mr. Bullis, it's going to fall on the ground. Mr. Flood is already on the ground. I don't have the finances to get it put back up if you allowing these trucks, these extended loaded trucks, to travel up and down Greenleaf, east and west, or do dangerous right turns onto Central, which is knocking my gate off.
Mm.
My brick wall is tearing the brick; it's just chipping the brick wall every time they hit it. Um, but that was one of the issues, the truck traffic, and I was told that they can't enforce the truck traffic. And I thought that was strange, because Compton likes money, and if you could start giving tickets to these truckers that's driving prohibited, the city can make some money. That's another stream of income.
Right.
So that was one of the strange things. Another one was the water. So I was having a conversation with them, and I've been fighting with the water company for about almost 2 years. One of the meters was installed backwards. The water was going somewhere other than on the cemetery. We had a meter installed in 2007, which is strange because there's no paperwork to this meter. And it was installed by who? Because during 2007, the state of California summons, they did a conservatorship over the cemetery in 2004, and the new owner didn't buy the property until 2010. So who put that meter there? Who authorized that meter there? Because the state of California has no record of payment, because you have to pay to put one in.
Okay.
They have no paperwork or authorization. And I have been asking the city, the Compton Water District, for paperwork for over a year now. of the installation. Who installed it? All you can see that it was done over a phone. You guys don't do nothing over the phone unless it's a higher upper.
Okay.
But there's no record of this meter, and this particular meter just happens to be near my water well.
Oh, there's a water well on the property.
It's two.
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, none of the previous cemetery owners ever paid water. Water
Never.
didn't start, never, because they had use of their own water.
Okay.
And to the point where they used to lease out the water, their portion of the water rights to companies to get income. So now we have this mysterious water well, and I'm gonna say we, because this is what was told to me from the city of Compton, Mr. Don in the water district, that we received a federal grant for our water for during COVID, and the thousands of dollars, understand it, was applied to this water meter that nobody has a record of asking to be installed. But yet the water meter that serviced my building, you applied like a couple of hundred, less than 1,000 there. But why are we applying money to a meter that has no record of installation or why it was installed? And why was I being billed for that? You want me to pay for something that you don't have a record of? That's strange. You apply federal money. It's suspect. And when I asked Mr. Don why the water wasn't applied to the meter that's servicing my building, because that's all we need water for, is to flush the toilet, he told me I didn't have the discretion. I said, well, it's strange because you did. Why is it okay for you to decide where my money goes or what I need to pay on?
Okay.
So this meeting happened on Monday. And on Tuesday, I was, wait a minute, let me get to this. So February 10th, I had Mr. Don sitting right here. I have cameras in my office. Mr. Bennett was here. Mr. Bowers was here. Mr. Simmons was here, the acting city manager at that time. And Mr. Timmons was here. Mr. Don told me to write an email saying I want my water shut off. I did that. That was February 10th. From February 10th, I've been getting water bills.
Okay.
February 10th, I ordered a porta potty so we can have utilities to use the bathroom, and there's a sink in there so we have water to wash our hands or if we need water. And water was shut off on the property. Since my meeting on Monday, Tuesday, I got served with a 7-day final shut off notice. My water should have been shut off in February. And you know what else happened? They cut my water back on.
Did you request it to get turned back on?
I did not. So that would give them a reason to shut it off if it's on.
Okay.
Interesting. We also talked about, again, the traffic, the truck traffic, the water, and parking. So a lot of people, and especially if you live on Greenleaf, I want you to listen closely. There was a city plan drawn up in 2007 under Perrigan, and they were going to take out the parking along Greenleaf if they do implement this, because this is a question that I asked on October 19th meeting. When is this plan going to take effect? Do you have funding for the plan? Because we have a area to park, and then there's a bicycle lane, then there's traffic lanes. But next to my area to park, my curve is red. Now, I understand it being red if you want to keep out homeless people from setting up shop there. But we've been asking the city, hey, can we park there? And we give our guests parking tickets with the date on it.
Okay.
So, and only during our business hours, so people that want to come and visit, they can park, or volunteers that want to help clean up, since you guys didn't want to and haven't and will not. They can park and don't get ticketed, and they still have yet to abide that. But my configuration is the same configuration from Greenleaf and Central all the way to Santa Fe.
Okay.
So why I'm not able to park or have parking in front of the cemetery when the other houses do? Because that'll be my argument. But if you look at this plan, they plan on making Greenleaf a 4-lane highway.
How are you gonna do that?
Close off some of these streets.
You're gonna take off all those that park, those old exercise parks and the power
The
lines
school.
and the school. All right.
I mean, there's the traffic, the crosswalk for the school, and another concern is you allowing these diesels to go up and down Greenleaf, but you have a school right here, before you get to Wilmington, and you have a school going down Central right here. If one of these trucks is driving, say fast or just 40 miles per hour, and they're fully loaded, we have kids that kids don't listen. If one of these kids dart out, they're going to kill somebody's child. Why are you allowing these trucks? It's dangerous. And when they're coming westbound on Greenleaf and they're making a right on Central, they're causing the traffic that's turning left from Central onto Greenleaf to be forced back into oncoming traffic. I know. I got a video of it.
You got to back up. Yeah.
Of me being forced to back up and cars is blowing. I'm like, oh my God, they finna kill me or he gonna kill me. It's dangerous and they're not putting it into it like it's okay. It's not okay. And people don't know that the trucking yard, STG, across the street has a 99-year lease with the Compton City, the school district.
Interesting.
That's owned by the Compton School District. And when I pay back the back taxes, we're going to do some math. When I paid back the back taxes, I had exemption. So the exemption exempted, the property is worth $3.6 million at that time. And I only had to pay like 10%. So my property tax was only $360 a year.
Okay.
Now they were behind 10 years. So that's $3,600. Yes.
Right.
The other money that I had to pay was into the school district, into the sewage, into the water, into the pension. All the remainder money went to the city of Compton. I paid that. It came out of my bank account. I got a copy of my cashier's check. I paid back all of that. Why I can't get some help? I'm paying taxes. I paid back 10 years. So technically, I'm a 10-year resident.
Technically.
Because I didn't pay back 10 years, and now going into the 11th year, I didn't pay that forward.
All right.
Why I can't get any help, Compton? Why are you being so resilient against me? Why? Because y'all tapped into my water and y'all thought I wasn't going to know. I got water rights. And, they had talked before about they were in a lawsuit with Angelus Abbey, but city council never said what the lawsuit was about. Because my thing was, if y'all got a lawsuit with the city, with Angelus Abbey, why y'all not informing the family so they can get some money too? Not saying that people capitalize, but if they've been wrong, how can the city be wrong unless you got somebody buried there? But if these families are wrong, then they need to know how they can go about getting on the class action or getting some type of, what is that word called? Payment for their ills or woes or whatever. The lawsuit was about water rights. That's why they never tell what they settled. Yeah, they settled because Angelus Abbey had their water rights.
Okay.
Y'all was trying to take it and y'all thought y'all was going to steal mines. And if they wasn't so resilient, I wouldn't go digging. I wouldn't go looking. Maybe y'all help me and it'd keep me off the computer. Seriously.
All right. We're going to wrap this up right quick because that's a hot spot to stop right there. Anything else you want to go before we wrap up?
I want families to know that Woodlawn is open. Bump what you heard. If you want to know, come ask me. I'll tell you whatever. I'm here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. If you want to know what's going on at Woodlawn, I'm here from 11 to 3.
Tell them about your nonprofit.
Woodlawn Celestial Gardens is a religious nonprofit because I perform the spiritual work of mercy to the family when We reunify them with their lost loved ones because they were lost because they didn't know where they were at.
I understand.
They don't know if they still placed here. And I give them words of encouragement. I'm showing them that I'm over here, you know, taking care of their family is in a safe space now. We also perform the corporal work of mercy for the deceased because I take care of the grounds. I make sure that every headstone is uncovered. And if it's not, we get into it.
Okay. All right.
And I keep it manicured and I keep the gates open. So that is Woodlawn Celestial Gardens, a play of my own name. Celestina means celestial.
It threw me off a minute. I was trying to email. I thought her name was Bishop. Oh, Gardens. Okay. All right. No problem. No problem.
Heavenly peace. That's what I'm giving. We over here on love, not opportunity.
All right, Celestina. Darling, you got a story and a half. We're going to do a part 2. I'm going to follow up with you later on and see how this is coming for you. All right?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. And thank you for having me.
I'm talking with being the folks at Compton. I'm going to send you this link. In the meantime, folks, if you haven't done it already, please download the Compton Entertainment Chamber of Commerce app on iPhone and for Android. In the meantime, do a little something and support Celestina in her efforts to make Woodland Gardens, Celestial Gardens, green again. All right? Let's make it nice and brown. Let's make it green again. All right? Thank you, darling.
Yes, sir.
All right.